The man I trusted most. Betrayal doesn't always come from the outside. Sometimes, it's the people you grew up with, the ones you'd bet your life on, who drive the knife in. My name's Daniel, 38 years old, steady job. I run my own HVAC company, got a house in the suburbs, nothing flashy, just solid. 11 years married to Marissa. She was the kind of woman who lit up a room when she walked in. Confident, sharp, the kind of wife who made you feel like you did something right in life. And then there's Luke, my little brother by 2 years. He was always the one with charm. Got by on looks, jokes, and somehow never paid the price for screwing up. Mom always gave him a pass. I was the one who cleaned up the messes, paid his overdue tickets, bailed him out when he got in over his head with girls or rent. So when he called me last fall, freshly dumped and sleeping in his car, I did what big brothers do. I let him move in. Just until he got back on his feet, I told Marissa. She hesitated at first, said she liked our quiet house the way it was, but after a day or two, she warmed up to the idea. Said it might be good to have some energy around. Looking back, that should have been my first warning. But when it's your brother and your wife, you don't even imagine the possibility. Not yet. At first, everything seemed normal. Luke was Luke. Same smooth talk, same lazy grin. Always up late, always borrowing stuff without asking, but that's just who he was. Marissa seemed more relaxed, actually. She laughed more, smiled more. I figured maybe she was just happy to have some company around the house while I was working long hours. We'd all eat dinner together a few times a week. Luke would tell stories about his failed relationships or some half-baked business idea, and Marissa would laugh. A little too hard, maybe. But I didn't think anything of it. Not yet. Then things started to feel different. Like the night I came home early from a job and walked in to find them sitting way too close on the couch, watching something on Netflix. She jumped when she saw me. Luke didn't. He just gave me that same crooked smile and asked if I wanted a beer. Or the morning I found her coffee mug sitting next to his laptop in the basement, even though she always drank hers in the kitchen. Small things. But small things start to pile up. One night, after a long shift, I walked into the laundry room and threw my dirty work shirt in the hamper. And I caught a strong whiff of Luke's cologne coming from one of Marissa's hoodies. It was subtle, but it was there. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was tired, that I needed to trust the two people closest to me. But deep down, something had shifted. I just hadn't admitted it yet. I think the worst part about suspicion is how it turns you into someone you barely recognize. You start noticing things you never used to. The way she always turns her phone over when it's on the table. How she used to leave it charging in the kitchen overnight, but now it's always under her pillow. And Luke. He started disappearing during the day but never had anything to show for it. No job interviews, no leads, just hustling, as he called it. But the tension was what really got to me. That silence that creeps into your house when everyone's pretending. Pretending to be normal, pretending nothing's wrong. You can feel it, like a cold draft under a closed door. Then came the night everything changed. Marissa had gone to bed early. I stayed up, trying to unwind. I picked up the iPad we rarely used anymore, thinking I'd check the news or maybe watch a game. But when it opened, I noticed she was still logged into her iMessages. I didn't go looking, but something pulled me. There was one thread, no name, just the letter L. And inside that thread, my world cracked in two. Miss you already. Wish I could sleep in your arms again. He's working late tomorrow. Come up after 10. You taste like trouble. I want more. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't vague. It wasn't some emotional affair or questionable text. It was my wife and my brother in my house. I sat there, alone, staring at the screen while she slept 10 feet away. That night, I didn't confront either of them. I just stared at the ceiling until the sun came up, knowing something inside me had just died. And something else had started to wake up. When I woke up that morning, everything looked the same, but it all felt different. The sunlight coming through the kitchen blinds, the smell of coffee, even Marissa humming under her breath, it all felt like an act. She kissed me on the cheek before I left for work, just like she always did. But now, I knew those lips had been somewhere else. And Luke? He strolled upstairs around 9 a.m., scratching his head, pretending to be half asleep. Same grin, same fake charm. I poured my coffee and didn't say a word. Rage doesn't hit you all at once. It settles in your stomach like acid. Burns slow. I wanted to beat him senseless. I wanted to throw her out that minute. But rage makes you reckless. And I wasn't going to lose my house, my business, and my dignity over the two people who betrayed me. So I went quiet, real quiet. That night, after they'd both gone to bed, I sat in my truck and called a friend of mine, Steven, a real estate broker I'd worked with before. "Steve," I said, "I need to sell my house. Quietly. Cash buyers only. No listings yet." He didn't ask questions. That's why I trusted him. Next, I called a divorce lawyer and told her everything, the texts, the proof, the names. She was calm, methodical. Said if I wanted to come out ahead, I had to pretend everything was normal until she told me otherwise. That meant sleeping beside my wife, smiling through dinners, even handing Luke cash when he asked for it. I felt like I was rotting from the inside. But I stayed still. Because revenge doesn't start with shouting. It starts with patience. 2 weeks later, I set the trap. I told them over dinner that I'd be heading to Nashville for a 3-day HVAC convention. Left the flight confirmation on the table, packed my bag, kissed Marissa goodbye the night before. She barely looked up from her phone. Luke gave me a slap on the back and said, "Don't work too hard, big bro." I smiled at him. "Keep the place clean while I'm gone." I didn't go to Nashville. I booked a cheap room at a motel 15 minutes away. I parked my truck out back, out of sight, and waited. The house was wired. I'd bought 2 small security cams off Amazon, barely bigger than a thumb drive. One hidden in the bookshelf in the living room. The other tucked above the hallway, facing our bedroom door. No sound, just motion-activated video. I didn't have to wait long. Friday night, 10:43 p.m., motion alert. There they were, Luke and Marissa, on my couch, kissing like 2 drunk teenagers. She pulled him upstairs by the hand. The hallway camera caught it all. Her shirt hitting the floor. His hand on her back as they walked into our bedroom. My bedroom. By Sunday, I had nearly 6 hours of footage, and more than enough time-stamped proof to break them both in court. But that wasn't even the real revenge. That came next. Because when I filed the paperwork with my lawyer the following Monday, she reminded me of something Marissa must have forgotten. She never signed the prenuptial waiver after we refinanced the house in my name. Which meant, legally, the house was mine. Just mine. I came home Monday evening like nothing had happened. Luke was out somewhere. Marissa was sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll through her phone, pretending we were still married. She asked how the trip went, and I told her it was productive. Said I'd learned a lot. She smiled. I smiled back, and then I pulled the flash drive from my pocket and set it on the coffee table. "What's that?" she asked. "Footage," I said, "from while I was gone." Her fingers twitched like she wanted to grab it but didn't know how. "I think you'll recognize the man in it," I said. "He's got your lipstick all over his mouth." She didn't say anything. Her face just crumpled. Not shock, not guilt, just panic. She knew I knew. And right then, Luke walked in through the front door, carrying a pizza. When he saw me, he froze. He looked from me, to Marissa, to the flash drive on the table, and back to me. "You filmed us?" he asked. "You filmed yourself," I said. That's when I laid it all out. Calm, cold, in front of both of them. I told Marissa I'd already filed. Told Luke I'd sent the footage to our attorney. And I reminded her that she'd signed away her share of the house last year during refinancing. She hadn't even read the paperwork. Trusted me to handle it. And I did. Marissa went pale. Luke just kept blinking, like he was waiting for someone to call cut. But it wasn't a movie. It was the end. And I'd already won. I gave them both until the end of the week to leave. Marissa begged, not for forgiveness, just for a second chance. Said it was a mistake, that she didn't know what she was thinking, that she'd felt lonely. All the usual lines. I told her I didn't care. Luke tried to play the victim. Said I set him up, like he hadn't made the choice to sleep with my wife under my roof. Called me a snake for recording him. I didn't respond. You know why? Because I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to throw punches. I'd already taken everything. Marissa lost the house. I gave her nothing but her clothes and a box of old photo albums she didn't even want anymore. No spousal support. My lawyer made sure of that. Luke lost his free ride. And more importantly, the only person who ever truly looked out for him. Last I heard, he was sleeping on some friend's couch, working at a car wash. As for me, I sold the house 6 weeks later and moved upstate. Small cabin, quiet lake, peaceful mornings. I rebuilt my company with a couple of good guys I trust. No drama, no secrets. I don't date much, not yet, anyway. Still entangling what she did to me. But I'll tell you this. When you love someone, you build a home for them inside you. And when they burn it down, you don't rebuild for them. You rebuild for you, and this time, you lock the doors.